Hello guys, so it's nice to talk to you guys again. So today I prepared just a short intro on how to create a web extended reality application with ThreeJS and Typescript. So we will go ahead and take it from the beginning. Okay, great. So I have my terminal over here and I'm inside one of the folders in which it's going to where I'm going to save my project. So I will go ahead and just type npm init, and we will use Vite in order to work with our projects. And the one that I'm going to use is the latest version of Vite available. And finally, we're going to give a name to our project. So let's just put it 3JS. Once you press enter, you will see that it's actually sending you again the name, and it's confirming, okay, this is the name that you want to put it. I will select okay. And then it lets you select the framework that you want to work with. We are going to work with vanilla, and we are going to select vanilla TS because we are going to be using TypeScript. Great. So now, as you can see on the screen, it is telling you which one are the commands that you need to run. So let's go ahead and put cd3js to get inside our folders. Then we are going to run npm install in order for Byte to install all the things that are the dependency that we have in our project. We will take a look on that in a moment. And then finally it says to run the project, but we are not going to run it yet. So instead of that, I'm just going to type code and dot, and it's going to open up our project. So now we have in here open it our project open in Visual Studio Code. And what you have in here is what our command just installed. First of all, you have the node modules of the project. Then you have a public which only has a logo, so that's not important. Then you have, for example, let's go and take a look at package. In here you have the dependencies that you have. You have already TypeScript, and you already have Vite, and also you have the commands that you have in order to run your project and test it up. So let's go ahead, and before actually jumping into installing ThreeJS and everything, let's open up our terminal and let's take a look on how can we test our project. So I will go ahead and put npm run, and you can select which one is the script that you want to run. In our case, we're going to run dev because we want to test our project. So let's go ahead and run npm run dev, which is this one. It's going to open Byte. We are not going to build it yet. We are not seeing the preview. And okay, you have in here URL that you can open up on your browser. 1 second, so I can show you guys what we have. Okay, great. So this is the project that installs with the commands that I just showed you. Now, we are not going to be using this. We are going to be using our code from ThreeJS. So let's go ahead and let's understand how can we go ahead and make sure that we have everything installed in order to run ThreeJS. So for that, I will go ahead and open up ThreeJS website. 1 second. So it's 3js.org. So this is our ThreeJS website, and here you have displayed all different samples on how to different sample of how ThreeJS is implemented. But the one that and here you have also some communities. You have the Discord group, you have some code available on GitHub so you can guide yourself, and other resources that the team is actually trying for you to see. But the one that we are interested is in this one, the documentation. Let's go ahead and get inside the documentation, and in here we first are going to understand what we need in order to create a theme, but that's not the first thing that we will do in our project. First of all, we need to install ThreeJS. So let's go and click on installation, and in here you can see that it says, okay, to install ThreeJS, you only need to run npm install 3. So that's what we will do. So in here I have my Visual Studio Code, and I will go ahead and put npm install 3, and this will install the latest version of ThreeJS, which is already here. So I'm going to build everything with this version because it's the one that you can see in the documentation right now. Probably if you are seeing this video later on, the version can be different, but my suggestion is always guide yourself with the documentation. Okay, great. So now before jumping in how to create a scene, let's go ahead and grab our main.ts and let's delete everything from there. Okay, so before jumping into that, so a ThreeJS application consists on three things that it's important to have in your project. First of all, a camera, a scene, and a renderer. So the scene is where all your objects, all the 3D objects live, like your 3D models, your shapes, your lights, and things like that. Also, the camera decides what objects in your scene will be shown by the renderer. And the renderer takes both the camera and the scenes and draws whatever the camera sees. So it's important to understand that concept. Now let's go ahead and take a look on how we can build that. Great, so let me take a look at everything. Okay, great. So the first thing we need to do is to go into our index.html and add a canvas over here. So that will be like the host of our application. And then we could add some style in order to maybe display this canvas in the best way in our application. So I will just go ahead and put some code in our HTML and our body. Those will be like margin 0 and height 100%, padding 0. So as you can see, I already have Copilot installed, and that will help me a little bit to be a little bit more fast. And the next thing that we need to have is to assign also some style to our canvas. So in that case, the canvas will also have height 100% because we want it to display the top of everything. The other thing that we need to add is the width 100%, and finally the display as a block. So that's it for the style of our index. Great, so now we create a WebGL renderer, and we will need to set the rendering area to the entire page using sorry about that, using inner width and inner height. So let's go ahead and open up our main.ts, and in here we are going to import tree from tree. Sorry, we are going to import everything as tree from tree, and then we need to create our const which will have the window inner width and inner height. So we will go ahead and type const width, which will have a window.inner width, and then we will also import the height, and which will have the window.inner height. And then, as we said, we need to create a WebGL renderer and set that rendering area to those elements. So let's go ahead and create a const, and we will name it renderer, perfect. And it's going to be a new type 3.webgl renderer, but we are going to create inside of that renderer, we're going to assign our canvas, which we have created in our index.html. So we'll go ahead and create our canvas, and we will assign the get element by, so we're not going to go with what our dearest AI is telling us to go. So let's go ahead and select get element by ID, and if you guys remember, our canvas was named up, right? And also we are going to indicate what kind of element is, so this is as HTML canvas element, perfect. So now we will go ahead and assign the size of that canvas to the size that we have already got as the inner width and inner height. So let's go ahead and assign to the renderer the size of our width and our height. Great, so that's it for the moment. Great, so now we will add our camera, and for that we are going to be creating a new ThreeJS perspective camera. So let's go ahead and create our camera. So const main camera, and let's see what is suggesting in here. So we are going to be using a perspective camera, so we are going to be using that. But the important thing is to understand what those parameters are. So the first parameters that it is 45 in this suggestion that Copilot is making to us is the field of view. In our case, we are going to have a field of view of 60. So let's go ahead and change this. Then what we have as a second parameter is the aspect ratio. We will also have then the next parameter is the near plane and foreplay, which we will have it only 100. Great. So what else do we need? We mentioned that we needed a camera, a renderer, and then we said something about a scene. So let's go ahead and add our scene. So how you add a scene? Basically, you do exactly the same. You first of all create a new 3.scene, and then finally what you need to do is to add a render. There we are render to our renderer, and we are going to assign the scene and the main camera. So these are the basic things that you need in order to create a WebXR 3JS application. But if we go ahead and run the code as it is, we won't see absolutely anything because we don't have a 3D model or a 3D element in our scenes. We only have, as you can see, the renderer, the main camera, and the scene. So this will be entirely, absolutely empty. Now, let's go ahead and learn how to add a 3D model. Now, in order to start adding 3D models, my first suggestion is please you guys go to the documentation. So if we go ahead and open up the website of ThreeJS where we left it under documentation and we were on the install area, we can go to creating a scene. And as you can see here, it's already telling us some information that we already covered. We already covered the scene, we already covered the renderer, the camera, but we need to create something to display on our site. We could use both a 3D model that we can upload and display that we created on another software like Blender or 3D Studio Max, or we could add a model through code. So what you are seeing, oh sorry, I'm not displaying my screen. There we are. So we were here in installation. I just went to this link, which is creating a scene. And if you take a look in here, you will understand how to create a 3D geometry from code. So in here what you have is, okay, let's go ahead and create a box geometry. This is actually creating like a box. In this case is assigning a material, which is assigning a color, and finally it's adding that cube to your scene, and it's also changing the position of the camera. But that would be the main declarations that you need to follow in order to go ahead and display something as a 3D model or something in 3D created by code. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. So I will just go in here and copy this sample code that we have in here. Take a look in here. We have the box geometry. We have the basic material that is assigning a color to it. Then we have the creation of finally the cube with the geometry and the material, and then it added that to the scene. Finally, it moved the position of the camera, because if we leave it as the same perspective that we created, the box is going to be the camera is going to be inside the box, so we won't be able to see it. So let's go ahead and just copy this code into our project. I'm going to main.ts that we had in here, and at the bottom in here we're going to paste that code. Remember that we named our camera different, so let's go ahead and update that. Finally, we can go ahead and npm run, put npm run dev. This will open up our page. And 1 second, because it's displaying in a different browser, let me bring it to here. Okay, great. So there we have it. So we have in here our box, and we also have it in with the camera is displaying that to our browser. Great. So now what's next? If we go back to the documentation, we can create an animation. And how does an animation work? It is simply another function that you create in the code, and in this case is requesting an animation per frame. And take a look at this. This will be increasing the rotation of the X position of the cube and also the Y position. And finally, it's going to render. Remember that we mentioned that the renderer is the one that is going to be deciding what to show in our browser. So in here we are going to display our scene and our camera, and finally we are going to be calling that function. So let's go ahead and take a look on how this code would change our the position and the animation of our cube. So after our main camera, basically, remember we need to update the naming here. This is what we will have. So let's go ahead, and in this case it's already loading my camera, but you can take a look at this. Is already having an animation, and it's basically like a couple of lines of code. Isn't this that's amazing, isn't it? Great. So this covers the first step on how to create a scene with ThreeJS and how to animate something pretty simple. So we'll take a look on how to get deeper on this. So we covered how to create a project with TypeScript and ThreeJS. We covered how to create our renderer, our camera, and our scene, and also how to display a cube with a simple animation on our project. In the next video, we will cover how to display that cube in virtual reality and augmented reality, and how can you take a look on that on the browser. So hope this tutorial, this simple tutorial is good for you and you learned a little bit. Sorry about my English, I'm going to get better on this. It's been a while since I don't record videos, but guys, trust me, I will make my best. Finally, if you want to follow me, you have my social media in here. You have my Twitter account. You can write to me over there, and also follow me on YouTube. Thank you, guys.